Happy Wednesday, Hail Stalkers. I'm meteorologist Martin Loudmore. We are looking at yet again another day for the possibility of severe weather. We're still continuing this trend of seeing a lot of these storms rolling across the country. This time, we're looking at the northern plains. If my graphic would like to work for me, would be wonderful, actually. Let's see if it'll actually go. There we go. So hail risk is going to be in the Dakotas today. We are seeing up to ping pong ball sized hailstones. So after the hail that we had out toward the east coast, we're now back to the northern plains. And this is going to be a continuing thing over the next couple of days as well. We are going to still see storms remaining a risk pretty much for the rest of the week and into our weekend as well. But for a lot of us, we're not dealing with severe weather. That heat, we were actually looking at it. Oklahoma, almost the entirety of the state is under a heat alert. Only the two western counties in the Panhandle are outside of that heat risk. So it's going to be hot no matter where you are across the south. And we'll give a bit of a heat risk map for you in just a few minutes. So yesterday was a bit of a busy one out on the East Coast. Look at all these reports right here. This was by 1:30 in the afternoon. We had several severe thunderstorm warnings all across the East Coast. And as we went around 3 o'clock, look at all these wind reports. Several wind reports all the way from nearly South Dakota all the way up to New Hampshire. Now, we zoomed in a little bit closer toward Baltimore because as we got around 5 o'clock, right around 5 to 6 o'clock, we actually had a few hail reports just outside of Baltimore of around golf ball sized hailstones. So didn't exactly get to a point where we had a 3-star hail map or anything as of right now. I know our meteorologists are currently reviewing it right now, so there's a chance, but I did talk to them and they said more than likely it is going to remain below a 3-star. But regardless, still, golf ball sized hail in Baltimore, that's a bit of a rare one there. This storms eventually did continue their way out as they went off the Gulf Coast or off the East Coast, but look at all the wind reports. Holy cow. And we were expecting it to be mostly a wind risk, but still several of these wind reports throughout the entirety of your Tuesday. Now where we are now, still a couple leftover non-severe storms across the East Coast, but there's two areas that we're watching for today. One has not really developed as of yet. We got a couple storms in Montana. This is going to spread across the Dakotas, bringing in a wind and hail risk. Meanwhile, in Florida, got a little bit of that Gulf moisture. It's kind of punching through right now, and that is going to be giving a bit of a wind risk. You can see that initializing boundary there with that cold front. That's going to help bring in those storms for Florida. So a bit of a busier day today than we usually see for late July, early August. So zooming a little bit closer, again, we got those storms still going on. Actually, you can see that little low pressure system right there up in the parts of New York. So there could be that flood risk there that we'll be talking about that in just a few minutes, as well as that low pressure doesn't really move. Meanwhile, you can see right here, there's a couple of those storms across the Gulf that's going to be making their way into Florida. Pretty soon it's going to be causing a bit of a ruckus. Meanwhile, same thing up in the Dakotas and Montana. I've got a handful of those storms. We'll be giving you a closer look on that outlook for what you've been expecting for that severe weather for today and tomorrow. But look at this heat, man. 98 only at noon here in Oklahoma City. Sheesh. It is a toasty one. Houston, Dallas at 91. Las Vegas is knocking on the door of 100 right now. Even places much further up north, Minneapolis 85. Wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing some 90s in the parts of central Dakotas, Minot, Bismarck, things like that. Could be seeing some very warm air moving through. So Wednesday, July 29th, your severe weather outlook. You got 3 areas, technically 2 really, because you've got mostly up in the Great Basin, the upper, the high plains area. That's the best way to really call it. You're seeing that wind and hail risk. We're going to break that down a little bit. Meanwhile, much further south, you got that wind risk in Florida. Moving into tomorrow, we're kind of just shifting things a little bit. We're still going to be in the northern plains, but we're also going to be in the central plains. We got the biggest risk in the central plains is going to be smack dab right over parts of North Platte and a little bit of Nebraska. Meanwhile, continuing Gulf moisture providing more of those chances for a marginal risk for severe weather as we get into Florida. Moving into our Friday, couple weird places you might be looking at. The leftovers of those storms will eventually make their way into parts of Arkansas and Missouri, as well as maybe some storms into Denver, down into parts of northeast New Mexico. Looking at the severe risk starting on July 1st or August 1st. We are almost at August. And man, it's been moving fast this year. Not looking at any significant severe weather as of right now in the extended forecast. And why is that? Well, we've got that high pressure still. Now, the high pressure is going to be moving a little bit and almost becoming more of a zonal flow in the next couple of days, and you'll see why in just a few seconds. Low pressure up toward parts of the Pacific. This high pressure maintaining currently. You can see this little bit of a short wave moving through. Actually, let me go back and we'll restart this just so you can get a better look if my graphic will work for me. There we go. So there's this little short wave right here that you're going to start seeing developing. There it is right there, a little chink in that short wave. That's what's providing a little bit of that lift for these storms into tonight. Same thing down here. You got this dip in the jet stream. It's that low pressure is providing that flood risk. Meanwhile, a little bit of that affecting down into Florida. So that short wave will continue down into areas of the plains, and eventually as we get into our Friday, that's where that shortwave really starts pushing the risk here into Arkansas and Missouri. But this high pressure slowly scooting over toward the west into the Four Corners region. This could provide one, much cooler air for the Midwest, and also be a chance for some rain as well, as this low pressure does eventually, the influence of that low pressure really digs in. So this will help cool things down for the eastern half of the nation. Western half, you're going to be toasty through this next couple of days, especially this weekend and starting up your next work week. High pressure sitting right on top of you. It is going to be a toasty one for sure. So be ready for a very, very hot weekend and into your next weekend, next work week. My graphic will work. There we go. So we're getting into your wind forecast. Again, two areas we're watching for right now. Northern Plains, High Plains area, and in toward Florida. So your wind risk for today, you've seen this little spot right here. It does include Idaho Falls. I think our best place to see that wind risk is going to be this initial area where these storms will be firing, probably Miles City to Minot. Not quite Bismarck or Rapid City getting into South Dakota, but this line right along here, I think is the best chance to get more widespread wind. I don't think we're going to have any extreme wind reports up towards, like 80, 90 miles an hour. Obviously, can't ever discount that, but more than likely we're going to keep most of those wind reports sub 75 miles an hour. Again, best chance to see these storms across the panhandle of Florida. Got Tallahassee, Jacksonville moving in there as well. Again, I think those storms probably going to be their strongest going over Jacksonville, so keep that in mind. Forecasted max hail size, we're only going with ping pong for today. The hail risk is not super great, but I do think the area that we're watching for right now absolutely does have a good chance of getting some of those hailstones a little bit larger. They actually, the National Weather Service actually dropped down the area that was this actually included. We did originally have Minot in this hail risk, but they've recently cut it down. I'm imagining the reason why they're doing this is because these storms initializing along this line, they're going to be very, very quickly becoming linear. And when they become linear, your hail risk pretty much falls off a cliff. It's not to zero, but really these storms, as they initialize along this line right here, they have the best chance for being hail. They linearize, hail risk goes down to pretty low. I'm not going to say zero. You can always have hailstones no matter what storm you're in, but they're really, really favorable during those, when they're in that supercell event. So, future radar. Starting right now, again, a handful of these storms currently going over parts of Montana. You can see, again, these storms initializing, and if they do quickly linearize, that's going to be a problem for your hail. If we can get a supercell or two, hey, we're doing really good when it comes to that hail. But I do think by the time it gets to Bismarck, it's probably going to be mostly linear, pretty late into the night as well. Rapid City, could see some wind out of this. So again, Bismarck, Rapid City, and really, really late trying to squeeze in to parts of International Falls and extreme northern Minnesota could see some of those storm risks. Mostly going to be wind for your Thursday morning. So expect that to be a little bit of a wake-up call for those of you in Minnesota. Moving much further south, we're seeing again that Gulf moisture really providing enough of that lift with this cold front. There's those storms there. We're expecting pretty much only a wind threat. A lot of these storms are going to be elevated both here and in the northern plains, so the tornado risk is pretty low. Not zero, just pretty low. So don't be expecting if there is a tornado warning. More than likely one or two could pop in, but I doubt we'll be seeing anything significant for today. So again, there's a lot of these storms moving through, providing probably a little bit of gusty winds, especially out toward Jacksonville before they get off into the Atlantic. So keep a watch out in Florida. So the one thing I do want to watch especially is the surface smoke. For two things, obviously very unhealthy air in parts of the Pacific Northwest, but as it does move through, you can see a lot of this area that was in that storm risk for today and will also show tomorrow is going to be being affected by this surface smoke. That smoke does a really good job at choking a lot of these stronger storms. What would be stronger storms are not as intense anymore, or they just don't really make it at all. Hail risk for tomorrow, a little bit larger, but we're only still looking at probably up toward that ping pong ball sized hailstones. We've got two areas we're watching going from all the way into parts of eastern Montana, lost my state there, all the way down to almost Kansas, but not quite making it in toward places like Wichita or Hays or anything like that. Probably going to be staying in northern parts of Wichita. But the best place I think to see hail is probably going to be in North Platte, maybe stretching into Rapid City. We're also looking at just on the right along the North Dakota border and in toward International Falls. So areas that not exactly uncommon to see the hailstones this time of year. We'll be looking for those up to ping pong ball sized hailstones for your July 30th. Wind forecast, a little bit more widespread. Again, these storms are really just going to be where they initialize is where you're going to see the best hail risk. Meanwhile, wind is going to be pretty prevalent just about everywhere. So all across the northern plains, we're talking all the way almost into the Great Basin area, up toward Montana. We've got all of South Dakota, all of parts, mostly of Nebraska, and stretching in toward parts of Kansas as well. There's a little risk down here in New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma. More rural parts there, but those of you in Clayton, Boise City, things like that might see a little bit of a stronger winds for tomorrow. Kansas City also included in this risk. Same thing for Omaha. So I got a couple big cities. These are more likely to be very late in the afternoon when you actually see those storms, and continuing to still see that cold front moving in. Pensacola, Tallahassee, Jacksonville could see some of those stronger winds as we get into the next couple of days, especially tomorrow. Heating up, yeah, it sure has been. You're seeing a lot of these much cooler temperatures in the East Coast, the northern part of the mid-Atlantic into your New England area, mostly seeing these very cool air. But the thing is again, northern plains really providing a lot of that heat to give these storms enough of an oomph to really become severe. Same thing when it comes to Oklahoma, Texas, you're seeing very hot air. This is going to continue over the next couple of days. Noticing this right here, big blob of nice cool air across the Midwest. That is that low pressure kind of digging down and being a bit of a break for those of you in like Chicago, Wisconsin, areas like that, Indianapolis that have been very, very hot the past couple of days. You're going to start cooling down a little bit. I say cooling down to like to the 80s, but still any help for the heat is help nonetheless. Noticing again, while we take away the heat here, we really build the heat in the Pacific Northwest, well, before this little low pressure moves in. But again, Great Basin, Four Corners region, Mojave Desert, going to be seeing a lot of the warmer air. Oklahoma, Texas, you're going to be getting a little bit of break, but unfortunately, that high pressure scooting back in as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week, and things will be getting very warm. Still watching many of these areas under heat alerts. We've got scattered heat advisories across the northern plains into just the upper parts of your Great Lakes, and then a large swath of both heat advisories and excessive heat warnings across the southern plains and all the way down into the Gulf Coast, where they've actually got, hey, this is an update right here, an extreme heat warning, excessive heat warning for northern Florida. Interesting. But again, you've also got a lot of these excessive heat warnings out toward the Pacific, just off the Pacific and in parts of Southern California, Southern Nevada, and Southern Arizona. So it's been very hot across the south, and that heat risk is definitely not going away anytime soon. We're seeing high heat risk up in the northern plains, a lot of high heat risk, and even some extreme heat risk. This is what we base off of our wet bulb globe temperature. So what this does is it gives us a good idea, counting in humidity, your direct sunlight, a lot of different things that are all included in this. So we could still see, again, look at that, large areas in southern Mississippi and Alabama that are under that extreme heat risk. And this is not going to be changing anytime soon. This is tomorrow, still seeing very hot weather. We get a little bit of a break in the northern plains before another little burst of hot air moves through. But the southerly plains, man, we don't get much of a break until the weekend. Granted, yeah, we do drop off to that low heat risk by Sunday, but that high pressure begins to settle in. We've got like half of Arizona under an extreme heat risk. So we're probably looking at high temperatures and also high humidity as well, because that does ag on that heat risk. We're moving into Monday and Tuesday, and oh man, we're starting to see it come back in the southern plains. It just doesn't end, does it? Yeah, that high pressure does not want to go anywhere. So we're going to be seeing some very hot weather for the rest of this week. John, any weather questions so far? I get it's probably a little quiet, but hey, if you got any questions, just let us know. We'll get you those questions answered as quickly as we can. If you got any places you want to get a forecast of, we can easily divert, quick little rabbit trail, and get you an answer for you. Future temperatures, it's going to be hot. No surprise there. Again, look at that. Bismarck, 98 degrees for today, at least until the rain gets there. Billings, 99. I usually associate Billings with very cold weather. Not so much today. Boise, 96, hundreds all the way down here. We got Dallas, 102, Oklahoma City, 104, Memphis in the 90s as well. Kansas City just scraping 90 right now. El Paso, 103. So as we get into our Thursday, we're maintaining, again, still watching as this slow shift of the extreme heat does make its way out of the southern plains, slowly but surely. Noticing as well, Bismarck, 80 degrees. That's not actually all that bad. So you get a little bit of a break from the heat in the northern plains. Billings, unfortunately, still at 94 degrees there. But notice the temperatures just don't really budge for at least until we get to our Saturday in the southern plains. 98 Oklahoma City, 107 in Dallas. Ugh, sorry about that, Dallas. But again, as we get into our Saturday, we do again see the temperatures diving down a little bit further, getting down to 101 and 96 degrees. Yeah, that's something you don't really want to hear. But as we get into our Sunday, noticing again that resurgence of this very hot air. We're looking at Rapid City at 102. That is foul for South Dakota. I've been in South Dakota during the summertime. It's usually like 75, 80 degrees out there. Man, that is going to be scorching. Same thing as I said before. Look at these temperatures all across the Midwest. Detroit, 83. That ain't bad. Chicago, 76. Oh my goodness, it's going to be great out there. So we will get to enjoy a bit of a, if you're going to be out, maybe doing some work, it is going to be much nicer across Chicago. If you are going to be, we had Chicago at a 5-star earlier this year. So if you're going to be trying to get some work done on some of those roofs out there, roofers, it's going to be nice as we get into the next couple of days once this low pressure really dives in. So keep a watch out on that. Temperature's much more tolerable. Dallas, I'm sorry. I know we also had that 5-star in Dallas, but sheesh, heat's going to be coming back very quickly by the time we get to our Monday. So it's going to be a hot next couple of days. Take a look at the future radar, kind of giving you your wide view. There's these storms across our Wednesday. Got more of those in parts of Florida. Continuing to see these storms in Florida on our Thursday when these additional showers and thunderstorms of this shortwave do eventually move into parts of North Platte. That best chance to probably see those storms. Getting into our Friday, there's that risk right there. More redevelopment right off of the Rockies. Maybe could give a storm or two for Denver. I know we've kind of been bobbing and weaving the storms in Denver the past couple of weeks. So you probably want to see some of those hailstones really making its way in there. Saturday, a lot of rain really pushing across the Midwest. This is also what's helping the Midwest stay cool with that low pressure. It's kind of diving down into the Great Lakes and into the Ohio River Valley, keeping things a little bit cooler. But once we get to our Monday, look at this. Completely barren. That high pressure is fully integrated into the pattern, and we're going to be seeing nothing but hot air. There it is. Oh boy. Everybody, probably for your first week of August, is going to be somewhat above normal, maybe with the lone exception of extreme northern Great Basin being just ever so slightly below normal for your temperature outlook coming in for the first week of August. As we go to our extended rain outlook, again, very dry as this high pressure maintains over parts of the Four Corners region, which will be drastically affecting how much rain that the Pacific Northwest will get. Meanwhile, again, that area of low pressure providing a little bit of relief when it comes to giving a little bit more rain. Unfortunately, not really expecting much in terms of severe weather, though. John, any last minute weather questions before we wrap this up? None so far. All right, guys. Well, hey, we're going to be wrapping this up, talking more about your severe weather outlook. We'll just give you one last look again, showing you both the risks in Florida and in the northern plains. We move into tomorrow. We kind of see this shortwave dive down a little bit further. Could be seeing North Platte getting some wind. The only real hail risk is going to be up here in North Dakota, parts of Montana and Minnesota. That wind risk remaining exclusively wind in Florida. Could be seeing maybe an all hazards risk across Missouri and Arkansas as well. I could see it be a hailstone trying to get to Denver. Again, it just depends on if the storms fire up east or west of Denver, if we actually do see those storms coming in over Denver. So we're going to be wrapping this up here, guys. Again, follow us on all of our social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're going to be posting about anything that's going on. If we do see some of those storms, we're probably going to be, we talked about it actually yesterday. We had that EF3 that was making its way over Appleton in Wisconsin. They did label that an EF3. So again, it's been a very action-packed past couple of days, and while things do appear to be calming down a little bit, hey, if you're interested in maybe getting a hail map, give us a call, 855-334-4245. Email us, info@hailtrace.com, or just head to our website. We can get you all the info that you need, get a little preview of the map on our website before you want to grab it. So we'll be going off here. Again, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow, so don't go anywhere with HailTrace.